This is the iPhone 12 mini, and I've been using it for the last 2 weeks, give or take a couple of days, but I have a lot of thoughts on it. So this is the second of the two-part video. So the first one I made was why I love this phone, just the reasons specifying the things I like about it. So I'll have that linked right up here in a card, and of course down in the description as well, so go check that out. So this phone isn't all bad, but this video will focus on the things I don't like about the 12 mini in particular. So let's get right into it, and I want to talk about just the colors. So the blue looks pretty good, but besides that, the other four colors I'm not really a fan of. So you've got a product red, which looks very light red, so it's almost a deep pinkish red. It's not really a red. That, like, the past reds were a lot deeper. So there's that red, there's a green, which is not really the green we had last year. It's a much lighter green. And then there is this and a white, and then the black, of course. So not really a lot of inspired color choices, and it feels really toned down from last year. I really love the iPhone 11's color selection. I really didn't think there was a single color that looked bad on that phone. This time around, not so much of a fan of most of the colors. Out of them all, the blue and the black look the best, but honestly, even the black looks really boring right now, especially the iPhone 12 and 12 mini's black. Another thing I'm not a big fan of about the 12 mini is that the prices have all gone up now. So for last year, $699 would have gotten you a 6.1-inch iPhone 11, and it was just, you know, in many ways, it felt like more phone for your money. This is now $730 if you get it unlocked. It's not $699. It's only $699 if you go through a carrier, which is false advertising, which is very frustrating. And then this also really maintains the same kind of pricing layout for storage as last year. But the annoying part is now that this is the mini, the 12, which is kind of the same size as last year's 11, is way more expensive. It starts at $830 compared to the $699 of the iPhone 11, so very annoying. That price jump has just gotten really crazy. And what really adds insult to injury here is, of course, that you don't have the charger, headphones, anything in the box. It's just the phone and a cable, nothing else, and you're paying more money. So it really hurts they do it on a year when they don't really give you more in the terms, like, at least if you're giving us more phone for the money, it makes sense, but you're giving us less phone, you're giving us less in the box. Everything just feels like a little bit of a harder pill to swallow compared to last year's iPhone 11. And as I was saying, this still does ship with 64 gigs of base storage. I really don't understand that. At this point, 64 should be done. You should start at 128, especially since you're starting $700-800. Not acceptable to sell 64 gigs anymore, in my opinion. Keep it 128 and then charge for higher tiers. I don't mind that, but the base should not be 64 anymore. That's just... it's crazy. I don't know why Apple is nickel and diming you with everything right now, especially with the lower ends. It feels like the higher end is starting to look a lot more sensible, in fact, compared to the other flagships. But the entry-level models, it does feel like you're getting nickel and dimed more. And on the topic of nickel and diming, another thing that is clearly missing here is that the iPhone 12 and 12 mini have 4 gigs of RAM instead of 6 gigs that the Pro and Pro Max have. Now, I will say this, I haven't noticed any performance changes because of it. Not right now. I've used both the Pro Max, this, and even the normal 12. I haven't noticed any differences. What I will say, though, is down the road, a couple years from now, this will definitely start to feel a little bit more apparent. The reason is that apps keep getting bigger, apps get more intense, software updates will make, you know, these phones just work ever so harder to keep up, and with that 2 gigs being missing, I feel like it will not perform as well as the iPhone 12 Pro and Pro Max 2, 3, 4 years down the road, and these phones can very easily last that long. So it feels like if that 6 gigs of RAM was there, it just would make this phone even more easier to just hold on to for a long time. Moving on, let's talk about something Apple's known for, which is their attention to detail. And in the last couple of years, I've noticed something that constantly bugs me, but it seems like something that would cost very little to fix, but really Apple just doesn't want to do it. And that is that the bottom of the phones have silver screws and a silver charge port. So the 12, the 12 mini, the iPhone 11, iPhone XR, all these phones don't have color matched charger ports and screws at the bottom of the phone. And with a darker color like this, it stands out significantly. It just looks weird. It throws it all off. The Pro Max don't have that. They have color matched screws and charger ports, but this doesn't. And just that attention to detail, as I said, like, it's weird cost cutting. Moving on, let's talk about the notch on this phone, and it's The thing is, the notch on the iPhones have stayed the same from the iPhone 10 all the way up to now. And that's a problem because this is much smaller than the iPhone 10, and it's very clearly seen. Like the top, you know, all the icons are just squished in, everything feels a lot more claustrophobic, and it's a lot more apparent because of the smaller screen size. With a bigger screen size, the notch really doesn't feel as bad, but it does feel bad, I'm not gonna lie, but it's still like, it's something you can digest. With this, it's a lot harder to. It's almost like a bezel on the top, which is very, very frustrating. And, you know, with that comes another problem where, because the screen is so small and that notch is so big, when you watch 2:1 content, you know, 2:1 aspect ratio content on YouTube or something, which a lot of creators have shifted to now, you can actually see that the video will get slightly cut off because of that notch. Very annoying, and that basically means you have to watch it full screen at that point. You can't watch the 2:1 aspect ratio like you can on other phones. It just, you know, that small screen and the big notch really isn't working in harmony, and I wish that Apple would have slightly reduced this for this phone, you know, pushed those sensors together, but they didn't, and I really, you know, there's not much to say there. So another thing I noticed, which isn't that big of a deal, but I definitely did notice it because I came from the 12 Pro Max, is that the speakers on this, while they do get loud and while they are stereo, they just don't have the same bass and depth of the iPhone 12 Pro Max and just all the other bigger iPhones. And that's not because Apple cheaped out. This is just a side effect of being a small phone. So there's not as much space for the speakers in here, those drivers aren't as big, and smaller speakers lead to smaller feeling sound, and that's just a side effect of the size. Now, not a big deal, unless you put them side by side, most people won't notice, the sound is pretty clear. It's just that when you've listened to both, you can clearly tell that something is just a little bit missing with those speakers. Finally, let's talk about the thing I've avoided the entire video, but it's actually the most detrimental thing to this phone, and that is battery life. Straight up, I will say that this is, you know, average on its best day and below average compared to almost every other phone that came out this year. The battery life on this is definitely going to be the deal breaker for most people. Now, I will be honest, it's not terrible. I've been able to manage 6 hours of screen on time with just Wi-Fi, and around 4.5 to 5 with a mix of 5G and Wi-Fi. So it's not incredibly just horrible, but this is the best it's ever going to be. As this phone ages, as the battery degrades, this is just going to keep getting worse. And I'm sure within a year and a half in, you're going to start seeing screen on times of like 4 hours, 5 hours within the realm of that. And that's going to become frustrating because you'll constantly be having to charge this phone up. Now, that's just, again, a side effect of having a small phone. You can't put a massive battery in there, but I don't know. I wish Apple could work something out where either you put in a higher capacity battery or just make something there, just make some compromise, something where you give us battery life that is actually decent enough, you know, to last a full day for even average users. So this is a phone for below average users in terms of power consumption. If you're a below average user, you won't mind it at all. But if you're an average, above average power user in terms of your power consumption, then you're gonna notice it. It's not gonna, you know, it's not something you can escape from. That's just something that I've noticed as well. You know, I love everything about this phone. You know, I've been struggling to come up with things I don't like about this phone. If you've noticed, a lot of the stuff was just nitpicking, but this factor, just you can't come around, and I haven't been able to either. And this is going to end up being, I think, the reason why I don't stay on this phone for a very, very long time instead of, you know, just holding on to it for the rest of the year. I think that the battery situation is the real killer. So that's it for this one, guys. You know, as I said before, there's not a lot to hate about this phone. This is a lovely phone, and I love so much about it. And I think that everybody should actually try this out before they knock it. The size, the smaller size is fantastic, and it really does feel great in the hand. So if you have any questions about the iPhone 12 mini, feel free to ask me down in the comments below. And if you haven't already, be sure to follow me on social media. I'll have all the handles right here on the screen. And of course, down in the description below for more behind the scenes and other content. And be sure to subscribe to the channel and check out that video of why I actually love this phone, the reasons why I like it, which will give you a little bit of a better rounded view on the iPhone 12 mini. And of course, a full review of this coming up soon as well. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.